7 Mile Beach National Park lies north of the Shoalhaven River. It is comprised of the forested dune system from Shoalhaven Heads to Giroa along 7 Mile Beach. It was reserved in 1971. The park contains one of the largest areas of natural coastal dune vegetation on the central part of the New South Wales coastline. Elsewhere, sand barriers have been extensively cleared for urban development. There are 3 main access points to the beach, the main one being Beach Road, which begins at Berry. Developed facilities are at Beach Road and Giroa. The park contains a unique littoral rainforest, with several rainforest plants at their southernmost limit of distribution, primarily at the Giroa end. Along the beach are spinifex, coast wattle, tea tree, coast banksia, and on the dunes behind are sheoaks, bangalay, saw banksia, southern mahogany, and burrowangs. The range of bird species is quite well known, with 135 species being recorded in the park. Birds utilising the dune scrub and eucalypt forests include many honeyeaters, such as the loon, the yellow-faced, white-naped, the red and little wattle birds, spinebills, and New Hollands. If you are very lucky, you may see the scarlet honeyeater, which visits the Shoalhaven area in the summertime. They are only permanently resident in the far north. Other birds to look for are the black-faced cuckoo shrike, golden whistler, grey shrike thrush, thornbills, and brown gerygons. Species commonly found in the rainforest area include the top-knot pigeon and the brown cuckoo dove. Also recorded is olive-backed oriole, figbird, spangled drongo, and barking owl. Raptors include the white-bellied sea eagle, brown goshawk, black-shouldered kite, and peregrine falcon. To say all of these birds occur should not imply they are likely to be present at any one time. Indeed, most observers are unlikely to see many of them. Probably the best time to look for birds is early to mid-morning. And in winter, you should choose a sunny location where possible. The semi-open areas at Berry Beach Road picnic area and the northern picnic area near Giroa make it a little easier to spot the birds. Elsewhere, the woodland and forest can be quite thick, and you may hear birds rather than see them. The northern area probably has the largest stands of Banksia integrifolia. Integrifolia occurs mainly on the crest of the first dune, behind thick stands of Leptospermum levigatum. Integrifolia is a favourite with the honeyeaters. It flowers in April and May, as do Banksias spinulosa and Banksia ericifolia. Banksia serrata grows in the forested hind dunes and generally flowers from mid-December to mid-April. A severe fire in late 1970s allowed the spread of lantana. The fire completely consumed the park, including Kumanderi Swamp. In recent years, a dedicated team of volunteers have been removing the lantana and encouraging species like Lamandra to recolonise the dunes. Their valuable work is particularly noticeable near the picnic area. Silica sand was extracted at the northern end of the national park until 1979. Most of the mined area has regenerated, but does not yet have the high species diversity which is typical of the rainforest community which previously occurred there. Having said that, nearly 40 years of natural and assisted regeneration has restored much valuable habitat, as can be seen today at the Jorowa picnic area. The four-dune habitat is particularly fine, with an almost unbroken succession from spinifex through Leptospermum levigatum to Banksia integrifolia on the first crest. In recent times, much of the coastal wattle appears to have declined in extent, but the reasons for that are unclear. Prior to its reservation, the national park was logged for blackbutt and Banksia. This also led to heavy infestation of lantana in the swales behind the first and second dunes. Banksia cut from the dune swales was used for fruit packing cases. As you progress south, the forest and woodland changes, with blackbutt eucalypts becoming more dominant. Many of the blackbutts have fine tree hollows, which are particularly important as nesting sites for parrots, as well as homes for brush-tailed possums, greater gliders and sugar gliders. Behind the coastal scrub is an open forest dominated by Bengalay, Eucalyptus botryoides, and further west rough-barked apple, Angophora floribunda is present. Blackbutt dominates the forest along the western half of the park. Understory species in the open forest associations include Old Man Banksia, Black She-Oak, Acacia, Mock Olive, Herbaceous scandens, and Bracken Fern. Rainforest species commonly occur as an understory in dune swales. The most common rainforest species in the park is cheese tree. Corkwood, lily-pilly, and pittosporum are also common. Beetle bush occurs in patches along the four-dune area of the national park and sporadically throughout the forest. Spraying programs have been undertaken from time to time, and considerable improvement has been achieved in reducing the infestation, but continued effort is needed. Other weeds occur in limited areas. Underneath the blackbutt canopy, the palm-like cycad Macrozamia makes up a dense understory. Macrozamia fruit was an important food source for the Aboriginal people. It is rich in carbohydrates, but requires an involved process of preparation. which involves leaching out the poisonous substances in running water for some days, followed by mashing and baking the pulp. Kangaroos and possums are reputed to eat the red, fleshy covering of the seed, and bush rats have been known to eat the seed itself, though whether they suffer any ill effect I don't know. Domestic stock have become seriously ill from eating the leaves, which causes paralysis after a few days. This plant family comes to us from the time of the dinosaurs, so it is probable they provided a food source for them. Macrozamias seem to require fire to form and set seed. The large pineapple-like seed cluster releases many of the large fruit, and dispersing by animals follows. No doubt the Aboriginal people employed fire to stimulate the fruiting process, and though we have little evidence of the vegetation prior to European settlement, the area probably had extensive macrozamia present for thousands of years. On the western side of Jurawa Road, the dune system continues with more blackbutt and macrozamia. It is very thick and a little difficult to traverse, but ends in swamp. Kumanderi Swamp is the only large, semi-permanent freshwater wetland on the south coast and protects approximately 1/3 of this type of habitat within New South Wales. A transition zone of swordgrass, tall spike rush and paperbark is almost impossible to negotiate and is wet underfoot. Access to the swamp for birdwatching can only be satisfactorily retrieved from the grazing lands on the western side. After heavy rains, the lower grazing lands also flood, extending the swamp somewhat and making access problematic. There is no public access nor facilities provided at Kumanderi Swamp. Regrettably, there are some drains which were dug in earlier times, which today has reduced the extent of the flooded lands somewhat. Kumanderi Swamp is an important drought refuge when smaller coastal wetlands and inland wetlands are dry. The swamp is a gazetted wetland under State Environmental Planning Policy No. 14. But given the somewhat capricious attitude of governments to such matters, it doesn't guarantee protection against collateral damage from adjacent land use decisions. Kumanderi supports a diverse range of bird species and large populations of such species as purple swamp hen, Eurasian coot, Pacific black duck, hardhead duck, hoary-headed grebe, and black swan are present. It is a breeding area for several species. The swamp is a valuable scientific resource, as much of the coastal freshwater wetland in New South Wales has been drained and cleared. The swamp contains a diverse array of plant communities, including the largest area of freshwater sedgeland in the region. Several plants are regionally rare or at the limit of their ranges. The swamp has a large population of the threatened green and gold bell frog and is the most extensive wetland in which this frog has been discovered in New South Wales. Other threatened fauna recorded at Kumanderi Swamp include the Australian bittern and the black-necked stork. The Australian bittern is a robust heron-like bird with a haunting, boom-like call, and it is very shy. It eats anything that moves, from frogs to reptiles and small mammals like mice. In rice-growing areas where it occurs, its mouse-eating predilection is valuable. It can be confused with juvenile nankeen herons, which have broadly similar appearance but are smaller and lighter. The nankeen heron also occurs in the area. The adult nankeen heron is an attractive rusty brown with a plain white breast, so it is very different in appearance to the juvenile. The black-necked stork, or jabiru, is a bird we tend to associate with the tropics in the far north. It has, however, nested at Mile Lakes and the Hexham swamps. Though it has apparently been sighted in this area, the chances of seeing it are probably very slight. Storks are capable of handling quite large prey, so mammals and frogs and reptiles would be on the menu. In the far north, they probably face double jeopardy given the spread of cane toads. But staff at Kakadu indicated to me that due to the largely solitary and dispersed nature of storks, it hasn't been possible to get any clear understanding of any impact from the cane toads. So far, cane toads are not an issue here, but whether there is sufficient large prey here for storks may be another matter. Mammals known to occur in the scrub and forest of the national park include the common brush-tailed possum, the ringtail possum, greater glider, sugar glider, swamp wallaby, echidna, long-nosed bandicoot, bush rat, brown antechinus, and at least 10 species of insectivorous bat. The water rat is also likely to occur. Though it is not the focus of this story, it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge the prehistory of the area and the major cultural significance the area has to the Aboriginal people. The National Park is only a small part of what is a rich tapestry of localities in the North Shoalhaven area, from Broughton Creek to Crooked River, embracing Comerong Island, Kullangutu Mountain, Muyan Hill, and of course beyond. The area is liberally peppered with sites with known cultural heritage, ranging from campsites to ceremonial, ritual, mythological, and spiritual features. And the cultural relevance of the locality is linked to a much wider geographic range. Ceremonial life is known to have attracted participants from the Victorian border to Bulli. Indeed, oral history refers to local people having attended ceremonies as far away as Yass and the Tumut River. Our relationship with the first people here began amicably enough, with many stories told of a very welcoming and helpful involvement. But incompatible attitude to the landscape alone would have contributed to a decline in the relationship fairly quickly. Today it is up to us to give due weight to cultural sensitivities and appropriate respect to a dispossessed people